as host to the ego, to the mistaken concept about ourselves, to the concept that we are unworthy. You believe that you can give all your guilt away whenever you want to and thereby purchase peace. How do we give our guilt away? Well, we make the jerk on the street who's telling me about Christ wrong. We make the door that I can't open wrong. That this is the problem with my life. We make everything else wrong. And we think that if I can push it out of me when I feel bad or I feel guilty or I feel unworthy, I'm going to be at peace. But what happens when we push it out? What'd you say? I don't feel very good. I never feel very good. And what we have to do is stop being comfortable with this feeling of I don't feel very good. Most of us just go, oh, I don't feel very good. Well, that's the way life is. And we push it down. We have to say, no, I'm done with that. That doesn't feel good and I don't want it anymore. But as long as we host the ego, we'll tolerate it. Because he is a bore at parties. He's a messy, sloppy drunk at my party. He always says the wrong thing at my party, but he comes. He's always there. Why do we tolerate that? It's time for us to wake up. So it says, and the payment does not seem to be yours. It's always somebody else. It's always somebody else. While it is obvious that the ego does demand payment, it never seems to be demanding it of you. It's always somebody else who's the reason or the problem. You are unwilling to recognize that the ego, which you invited, is treacherous only to those who think they are its host. So if I invite it in, it's always going to trip me. It's always going to say something to embarrass me. It's always going to, as a host at a party, it's always going to be rude. It's always going to make me miserable. It's always going to make me feel unworthy. It's always going to show the worst about me. The ego will never let you perceive this, though, since this recognition would make it homeless. So life is miserable. Yeah. Your relationships, they're not too terribly good, but, that's what you deserve. You know you. You know I'm right. You know you don't deserve much. That's what your ego says. That's not me, by the way, telling you that. This is what we know. But you know what? At least for a while, I'll keep you satisfied. But there's going to be a lot of misery. For when the recognition dawns clearly that the ego is not it's not worthy of you, that these unworthy, unloving, attacking, guilt-filled thoughts are not worthy of the Son that God created, the reality of you. It says when you finally realize that, and how do we realize it? Well, this workbook lesson that we did tonight is exactly like that. It's exactly the awakening, because what does it say? Say this when you awaken. Say this throughout the day. Say this as night comes, and let your dreams be healed and whole. Let your body be healed. Let your mind be healed. It says when the recognition dawns clearly, you will not be deceived by any form the ego takes to protect itself from your sight. We will see clearly, like Mark says, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't like it. Tyranny says, I locked my own damn door. I'm not going to do that anymore. I see that as a metaphor for my life, and I don't need to do that anymore. Each form will be recognized as but a cover for the one idea that hides them all, that love in our mind seems to demand a sacrifice and is therefore inseparable from attack and fear, and that guilt is the price of love which must be paid by fear. We are afraid of love, and the Course says this in many different ways, that we have confused peace and pain, that we believe that we are not entitled to miracles, that we are not entitled to love, that we are not as God created us, that something happened to damage us and nobody knows it, but I've got a stamp on the back of my neck that says damaged goods. I know I am. And yet what are we told? Throughout this book, you are as God created you. Nothing can change your reality. Nothing in this world is more powerful than love, because nothing in this world can stand against the power of love. You are not host to the ego. You are not hostage to God. The Course would say you are host to God. Your choice is, will you be host to God or will you be hostage to your ego? And the choice, when seen like that, is very clear. Stop the image you've made of a God who is changeable, the image that the ego has made for you, and accept the image of God that abides within your heart, the one you know makes so much sense to you, the one who loves you, the one who's willing to welcome you home, just like the prodigal son.